All right, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. For those of you who are watching in different time frame, once again, we're actually moving on to our Module 2, Session 1. Now, for those of you who are new to this discussion, my name is Sir Eyes or Sir Eisel, and I'll be your instructor for ITE083 IT Project Management. So we've already done with our Module 1, we've already did our wrapped up quiz. For those of you who got a high score, congratulations. And for those of you who still pass the quiz, I really hope you understood what we've discussed last module. And there's nothing bad of trying as long as you're being consistent with regards to what we are learning today. So right now we're going to be moving on with our Module 2 Session 1, which talks more about the Agile methodologies. Before in Module 1, we've discussed about the different methodologies like Agile and Waterfall, but right now we're more focused on the project management side of Agile methodologies and a bit overview of the Scrum and Kanban, which is a Agile framework. All right, so I want you to imagine this. Your class is developing a student attendance system. Everyone has already started working. Then your instructor suddenly says, please add QR code attendance before the deadline. Now, immediately, everyone starts asking, who decides if we should add it? Who updates the plan? Who changes the task? Who tells the developers? Now, without a proper teamwork, people become confused. Some members do the same task, and important work gets forgotten. The project becomes delayed. Now, what problems do you think will happen if nobody organizes the team? Now, recall from Module 1, last meeting we learned about two development approaches. Number 1 is waterfall, which follows one step at a time, and difficult to change once development begins. This is more a traditional approach. Second one is Agile methodology. It accepts changes and delivers work little by little and improves through feedback. This one is more of like a flexible approach. Now, let me ask you this question first. Which approach is better when customer requirements suddenly change? I'll give you 5 seconds to answer this. For those of you who answered Agile, then that is correct. So because we're talking more of a method that is flexible, unlike waterfall, which is a traditional approach, which takes a lot of time to make changes of a project. Now the big question is, since we already know that Agile is flexible, but how do software teams actually organize themselves while using Agile? If 10 developers are working on one project, who decides what to build? Who removes problems? How does everyone stay updated? And how do they know what has already been finished? Agile answers these questions using a framework called Scrum. Now that is just a bit of an introduction of what we will be learning today, but before we start, let's first read the learning objectives of this session. No, by the end of this session, you will learn and explain why Agile teams use Scrum. And in this session, we also identify the Scrum roles, what are the different roles in this framework that we're going to be discussing today, and explain the Scrum ceremonies, identify the Scrum artifacts, and understand how Scrum helps teams work together. Now moving back, what is Scrum? Scrum is one of the most popular Agile frameworks used in software development. Instead of building an entire system all at once, Scrum helps teams divide work into smaller parts, work together as one team, receives feedback regularly, and improve the product continuously. Think of Scrum as a guide that helps software teams stay organized while building a project. A simple example, instead of building the entire student attendance system at once, the team builds it step by step. Let's say for week 1, we build a login. For week 2, we build a QR attendance. For week 3, we build on reports. And week 4, we start developing the notification. Now, after every small improvement, the customer can already see the progress and provide feedback for each feature that has already been added on the system. Now, Scrum starts with people. Even with a good process, project can still fail if nobody knows the responsibilities. Just like in sports, every player has a different job. Software teams work the same way. Scrum gives every team member a clear responsibility. These responsibilities are what we call... Now in Scrum roles, every Scrum team has 3 important roles. You have the product owner, which represents the customer and decides what features are most important. We have the Scrum Master, which guides the team and removes problems that slow down development. We have development team, which designs, builds, tests, and improves the software. Now let's understand each role one by one. I want you to meet the Scrum roles. Now for the product owner, which is Scrum role number 1, it asks more of the question of what should we build? It prioritizes the feature, represents the user. They usually are in control of the features that they want to suggest for the development team and the other roles. Scrum role number 2 talks more about the Scrum Master, which asks the question, how can I help them? It removes the blockers. The blockers here are basically the problems that could potentially stalk the deadlines or get rid of all the problems that could potentially be added to the project. And it facilitates the Scrum. It facilitates all the schedules, the deadlines, the features, every suggestion from the product owner, and also every command that is needed from the development team. And lastly, Scrum role number 3, which is the development team. They are more of the let's build it side. They're the ones who can design, code, test, improves, and who decides who on the feature of the project that they're building. Now, working together as one team, now everyone knows their role. The product owner prioritizes everything, including the features that they suggested. The developers builds, the Scrum Master supports the team. But another question appears. How do they communicate while the project is ongoing? If nobody meets, developers might work on the wrong feature. 2 people might do the same task, problems may stay hidden, customer requests might be forgotten. Now, to prevent these problems, Scrum teams hold organized meetings called Scrum ceremonies, or how do each Scrum roles communicate with each other. Now, what are Scrum ceremonies? Scrum ceremonies are regular meetings that help the team stay organized throughout the project. These meetings allow everyone to plan their work, share progress, solve problems, receive feedback, improve teamwork, and you think of them as team checkpoints that keep everyone moving towards the same goal. Just like a class group project, software teams do not meet only once. They meet regularly to stay organized. Scrum has 4 important ceremonies. We have Scrum ceremony number 1, which is sprint planning. Before developers start building the software, they first divide the project into smaller work periods called sprints. Now, what is a sprint? A sprint is a short period of work, usually lasting 1 to 4 weeks, where the team focuses on completing a small part of the project. Instead of building everything at once, the team completes one small goal at a time. For this example, we have sprint representing a week, where in sprint 1, they start off working with the login feature, for sprint 2, QR attendance, and so on. Once the sprint is planned, the team needs to decide what they can realistically finish. This meeting is called sprint planning. During sprint planning, the team chooses which features to build, estimates the workload, sets one sprint goal. For the next Scrum ceremony, which is Scrum ceremony number 2, which is daily stand-up. Once development starts, everyone begins working on different tasks. To make sure everyone stays updated, the team holds a short meeting every day. This is called the daily stand-up. Each member answers, what did I finish yesterday? What will I work on today? And do I have any blockers? And the purpose of this one is to keep everyone informed and solve problems early. Next Scrum ceremony number 3 is sprint review. Eventually, the sprint ends, and the team now has a working part of the software. Before starting another sprint, they first present their work to the customer. This meeting is called the sprint review, and the purpose of this one is to demonstrate completed features, receive customer feedback, and identify improvements earlier. Next Scrum ceremony, or the last ceremony, is Scrum ceremony number 4, which is sprint retrospective. Now, retrospective is just a fancy word of self-reflection. It is more of, after reviewing the product, the team also reviews themselves. They ask what went well, what problems happened, and how can we improve next sprint. This meeting is called the sprint retrospective. Now, we all know the Scrum cycle already. All the Scrum ceremonies work together in one continuous cycle. We have the sprint planning, which decides what to build. We have the daily stand-up, which shares daily progress. And we have the sprint review, which presents the completed work. And lastly, the sprint retrospective, which improves the team's process. Now, Scrum also needs organization. Meetings help the team communicate. But where do they keep track of the work? How do they know what still needs to be built, what they are building now, what has already been completed? Scrum uses a concept called Scrum artifacts to organize this information. Think of Scrum artifacts as the team shared project documents that everyone can access. We have Scrum artifact number 1, which is product backlog. This is a question or ask the question of what should be built. It completes the list of all requested features, like the login, your attendance, reports, and so on. These are just the list of features that are going to be added within that sprint. And for the Scrum artifact number 2, which is sprint backlog, this asks the question of what are we building in this sprint today or the present time. These are the selected tasks from the product backlog or the list of the product features that are going to be built. And lastly, for Scrum artifact number 3, which is increment, these are the working parts of the software produced at the end of the sprint. These ones are already been crashed out or checked for those features that are already been built in the project. Now, before we end this session, these are the key takeaways on what we have learned so far. Scrum helps Agile teams stay organized. Scrum roles define each member's responsibilities, and Scrum ceremonies keep communication organized. Fourth is Scrum artifacts organize the team's work, and by repeating sprints, teams continuously improve the product until the project is complete. So that ends our Module 2 Session 1. Let's crash out the objectives that we just learned on this session. We explain why Agile teams use Scrum, which is true. We have already defined what this Scrum framework is. We also identify the Scrum roles, the product or the project owner, the Scrum Master, and also the development team. We explain the Scrum ceremonies. We have the 4 of them. We talk more about each process on how they meet their deadlines, how they meet regularly in order for them to maintain each sprint and each features that needs to be implemented. We identify the Scrum artifacts on how they keep track on the features that they've added, what are the current features that have already been built, and the list of features that they are about to build. And we also understand how Scrum helps teams work together. So that ends our Module 2 Session 1 that talks more about the Scrum framework and how we properly manage a project through this Agile framework. Next session we'll be discussing more about the Module 2 Session 2, which is about Kanban, another Agile concept that we will be discussing on the next video and our future lessons. I will be announcing your activities as well in our group chats and GCR. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next session.